Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by. This is a VR to Top Tarot Trumps by Masha over at Musings by Masha. And in this installment of the tag, I'll be sharing some favorite depictions and interpretations of the Temperance card. Temperance is not often my favorite card in a deck, but I have found 5 that I think say something interesting about Temperance as a card, or that I just really like aesthetically. So I'll be sharing those 5 with you in this video. So the first one that I thought of because I look at it basically every day, and that is the Temperance card from Dust to Onyx by Courtney Alexander. This card is one that I just think is really beautiful. And this I received as a postcard when I purchased my larger sized or full size copy of the deck. My understanding is that everybody who purchased that deck got, one card, I assume one of several, as a postcard, and this just happened to be the one that I received, and I framed it, and I have it in my room on top of my tarot shelf in a kind of bronze colored frame, and I really like it. I think that it's really pretty. I like that for a card that is frequently depicted in terms of kind of balance, that it is not symmetrical. I like that there is asymmetry in this Temperance, because balance, doesn't need to mean kind of sameness, and so I really like that aspect of it. And I like how this person is kind of adjusting their crown, or putting on their crown. I just think that this image is beautiful. So that's definitely one of my top favorite Temperance cards. The next one that I'll share is from a deck that I haven't actually mentioned too much in this series yet. I should remedy that. And that is the Pacific Northwest Tarot. And this one, of course, depicts a turtle. And the little book that comes with this deck is written in this kind of narrative style, such that the entry for the Temperance card talks about the turtle learning the wisdom of being out of their shell sometimes and in their shell at other times. So the turtle experiences being hungry, and feeling isolated but protected when they're inside their shell, and then they experience, getting to snack and adventure and explore while they're outside their shell, but also, retreating in when a threat presents itself. And so the turtle, I think, speaks to Temperance in its kind of amphibiousness. It's a Temperance that is adaptable to different contexts and different environments. Like, this is not necessarily a Temperance of moderation, which is not my favorite word, but it is one about, responding in accordance to the situation that one is in, and kind of balancing different strategies or ways of doing things depending on what the circumstance calls for. And I like that interpretation of the Temperance card, and I think that the artwork in this deck is just lovely. So I really like that Temperance card. The next one that I will show you is from a deck that I love, that I feel like I show a fair amount on my channel. And that is the Architect's Tarot by Yusuf Bushiri. And in his deck, we have the astrological correspondence written onto the deck there. And this is a watercolor and ink drawing deck. And I just think that this image is really cool. There's a lot of really cool imagery in this deck, like really interesting perspectives, really interesting, unique interpretations of different cards. And so in this one, you can see at the bottom of the card here, there's a person sitting there with their sword beside them on the grass, and they might have even just come out of the water and they're looking over onto the grass there. And then if you flip the card, at the bottom we have a person here with their sword driven into the ground beside them, and they're looking out from some kind of structure. You know, they're standing on this very flat, maybe a ledge, and they could be looking out over, or they could be looking at a huge window, you know, and looking out into this watery landscape, and you've got this water here flowing, you know, as in many temperance cards, not clearly flowing in one direction or the other in this kind of impossible way. And so this temperance card to me speaks to maybe the relationship between different perspectives and the kinds of balance that could come from looking at things in a different way and blending different perspectives together and seeing what comes out. And I think that that's just a really interesting image for temperance. And I like how watery it is. I really like this. There's a lot of cards like this in this deck that, you know, play with scale and play with perspective and dimensions of things. And I think, of course, the creator as an architect has a very particular eye, a very particular artistic eye that he brings to his work that I really like. So I really like this card. I chose as well Temperance from the Great Lakes Tarot. And this temperance shows somebody using a kayak. And I like to kayak. I don't have a kayak. I hope to at some point. I do have a canoe. I really like kayaking. And when you kayak, you have, of course, this double-ended paddle, which you hold in your hands and you paddle on either side, alternating. And I think that when you're first starting, you know, when you're first starting to kayak, there is this kind of wobble that happens when you don't have the balance and the rhythm of paddling on either side in succession. You know, when you don't have it down in a good way, it can be a little bit challenging. And here you see this archway up in front of the kayaker that they're aiming towards, and so kind of threading through this narrow opening in the rocks there's a sense of kind of balancing the paddling in a balanced and rhythmic way to be able to attain the outcome that is desired, or to navigate in the direction that one wants to go when there's other when there's other kind of forces acting on you, right? This person is in water that is wavy, there's probably some wind, and they are going to be looking, I think, to find the right balance of paddling and the right rhythm and the right direction and the right speed and the right, strength on either side to be able to go where they want to go. And that kind of navigation, involves like a set of skills that are learned. And I like this aspect of temperance as a very active thing. Here I think temperance is not a state in this card, it's an action. And I like that aspect of this depiction, and I just love this deck. The last one I chose that might be my favorite one is from the Star Trek Tarot by Telekiad. This one, of course, has Mr. Spock on it. And the keywords for Temperance that they've included. They include an upright and a reversed keyword in the top corner on this deck. They include the keywords of diversity and conflict, which I think is an interesting take on Temperance that is quite different than the kind of focus on moderation and avoiding so-called extremes, or kind of going in this very middling kind of a way. I don't think is what this card is doing, which I appreciate. Which I appreciate. This is a episode called Is There in Truth No Beauty? And Spock is giving his greeting there, and you can see he's wearing the IDIC, the Infinite Diversity in Infinite Combinations medallion there. And I think that infinite diversity and infinite combinations is an interesting way to think about Temperance. And even, thinking about the, Pamela Coleman Smith depiction, there is this kind of active blending of things, right? And blending of different factors into something new. And in this particular episode, Spock mind melds with someone from a different species, and they have to all kind of work together to, of course, save the day and save the ship, as you do in a Star Trek episode. But there's definitely this kind of sense here, and I would say that maybe something shared with this one as well. There is in this Temperance, I think, more of an emphasis on different elements of something working together. Bringing together different perspectives or different sets of skills or different elements into a new combination, with a particular idea in mind. And I do like that take on Temperance. So I do love, of course, Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy. So the Temperance cards that I have chosen are the beautiful Dust to Onyx Tarot by Courtney Alexander, the Tarot of the Pacific Northwest that doesn't want to focus very well, I'm sorry, the Architect's Tarot Temperance, the Great Lakes Tarot Temperance, and finally the Star Trek Tarot. So those are my top tarot trumps for Temperance. I look forward to seeing other people's choices for this one and all of the rest. If you have any particular Temperance cards that you love, do tell me about them in the comments below. I will look forward to chatting with you, and I'll see you again soon.